afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing. But it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. I'm here doing the same thing I've been doing since I started this show. Just trying to make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA. And the USA with the plight of veterans. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here with two young veterans, a different generation of veterans, but we're still just veterans talking to veterans and the community about all things veterans and the community. Today, I want you to introduce yourself again, my young brother.
My name's Gregory Bonton. I was in from 03 to 2012, saw tours in Iraq. Now I'm out working with the VA.
Okay, so and then my brother Gary, we've been kind of hooked up for some years.
Quite a number of years. I'm Gary Wiltshire, host of Man Cave TV Atlanta, and it's a pleasure to be here with Mr. McGee and Mr. Bonton today. I also am a Navy veteran. I was in the 80s when it was allegedly a peacetime, but I am a veteran, and there are a lot of veteran issues to talk about today, guys.
Yeah. Well, not just veteran issues. We want to talk about the whole big picture right now of us kind of having a walk with the president, right? You know, we're walking down a new administration. You know, we had a turbulent election period where we saw some things happen that has never happened in America before. And we had really for the last 4 years, well, going on 5 years now, we have seen our government go through a lot. You know, coming out of COVID, we had a pandemic. Pandemic where all of the institutions, including the church, shut down. Just shut down to deal with over 1 million Americans died from a disease that could have been preventable, from a pandemic that could have been preventable. So we are here. You know, we saw the economy coming back, people going back to work. A lot of people, they adopted a mobile work.
Remote
work stuff that during the COVID, and they kept it when COVID, gone. And I'm gonna say this now, cause I've been an employee. I'm right now. I'm retired, disabled veteran, and all I do is work with veterans and the community. But I've been an employee in the government. Matter of fact, at the Department of Veteran Affairs, the Atlanta VA. Now it is been renamed for Matt Cleveland, who was a Vietnam vet. You know, that was the first Vietnam veteran that was the over the VA. Did a lot of good things to help the VA develop. To become an agency that recognized that it is for the veterans, right? I got a problem with it because I think it should be by the veterans. I think that if we had 75% of the VA employees who had military experience, it would be a VA that made the nation proud. We wouldn't have 17 to 22 young men committing suicide today. We wouldn't have that because we would have people working in the VA that could identify with the service. And they say thank you for your service, but do they know what you went through?
Some of them do, some of them don't.
but there is no line of identification when you got a bunch of folks. They're good folks. I'm not saying they bad folks, right?
Some of them are, some of them ain't.
Some of them are, some of them ain't. But we're gonna look at how we can make it better. We know it. We know it's messed up. We already know that it's messed up. But we get more veterans elected to Congress. So I think last week about 20 500 members of BSOs convened in Washington. But they didn't go to the White House. They went to the Senate and the Congress, where they should be going right now, because that's who, I'm gonna say this here. I like theatrics.
Okay.
I like
A little drama.
little drama. Little drama keep you on your toes. Used to be a boxer, still got knocked out.
Okay.
I wouldn't know boxing. I'm lying. I wouldn't know boxing. But one of the things that I like, when you got somebody that say they're gonna do something, they do it, right or wrong.
Well, now a lot of people might apply that to the current administration because
Well, that's where I'm going.
yeah,
That's exactly where I'm going.
yeah,
But now, what that is, though, I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America.
it's there for a reason.
That's what I stood on. That's what I served for. That's what I got wounded for. And I saw too many young men die for. To think that it's going to be dictated by one man, the executive branch, doing mass firing, doing downsizing where that only Congress could do.
Historically, yeah,
Well, not historically, constitutionally, bro.
constitutionally.
Constitutionally. I'm talking about
Yeah.
what is now. I'm not talking about what may be.
Yeah.
I'm talking about constitutionally. It's Congress who makes the laws. The president is to carry out the laws made by Congress. Not the president make the laws and Congress shut up. So we going to the Congress. We going to the people that we elected to make the laws. So that they can make the laws. They if they're not gonna function as a part of that triple agency government, they don't need to be there. Just plain and simple. And I mean, I want to hear somebody else's opinion about it.
I mean, I agree with you though. I agree with you that Congress is who they're not. More importantly, they control the purse strings, right? And go ahead, brother.
I like to hear each one of them opinion about Trump.
Well, they're gonna get there. They're gonna get there. Everybody got an opinion.
And I step out and say I voted for Trump, but I don't like what he did with the removal of the veterans from their jobs, and Supreme Court didn't either, because all of them back now. And the reason that all of them back is because of that three-tier government. As you said, Congress created a purse string that has to be used. The leader of the executive, which is the commander-in-chief, can move things around within the executive branch how he deems fit, but he can't say that you can't spend this money that was already given by Congress to be spent, and this was on payroll, et cetera, et cetera. So they had to come back, and I like that they had to come back because the way that they did it was crazy to me. Like people was coming in, and I'm watching them. They can't sign in one day, just can't sign in. Even our supervisors didn't know that they had lost their credentials into that day. They ain't give no warning, no heads up, no nothing. So I ain't like that. I ain't like that at all. And I was glad that the Supreme Court reversed that and brought them back, because it gave me faith that the three-tier government's still working the way that it should be working. Although he's trying to do a lot of things, everything that he's doing ain't going through, thankfully. Because this is not what I when I voted for him, this wasn't what I voted for him for.
See, now that's the discontent in America today. And it's constitutionally, too. This is why I'm saying this show is veterans talking to veterans, because we know what the government is supposed to be doing, and we know what we're going to demand that it does. Because we know how to approach it. We know how to approach it. And the thing about it, I just think that a lot of America's been bamboozled, bullied about.
Including Congress.
That's it. A lot of Americans.
One of the senators from somewhere, Delaware or something. I forgive me, but he's a Republican, and he's actually going on record stating that he think they may have made a mistake by giving the executive branch so much authority so soon, because he's basically doing things that they wasn't prepared for. They didn't know he was going to be doing, even though he said it during his campaign.
Well, during this campaign now, politics is crazy during campaigns.
Yeah,
You're going to get a
yeah.
lot of lies told.
Yeah.
But and a lot of people believe that well, he's just not the traditional politician. So, they're going to go along to get change. They want to change. Now, see, we got to look at the 4 years prior there, too. Where a lot of businesses went out of business during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And it took a lot of time to get things, cranked back up to where the economy was actually began to work. People going back to work, and we had to fight with the millionaires then. The unions didn't want to. I mean, they didn't want unionization. They don't want to give the people some increase in wages and benefits, right? Even though during COVID, their profits sold. I mean, if I'm lying, straighten me out now, because we need to look at this whole picture, because our community needs us to step up, because they don't know how. They're sitting back and a crime community. Listen, lack is the basis of crime, right? You take away the lack, and you ain't gonna get no crime. I mean, you gonna have some mental illness stuff take place, but if you took away lack, right, all the lack out of the community, if we went down Bankhead and Martin Luther King Jr. and just removed lack, you would have no crime.
Maybe.
I'm gonna tell you. Listen,
I know what you're saying.
Once the ones who are already in that mind is gone,
yeah. See, let me say this out. I spent 20 years in prison, in some of the roughest prisons in the country. The Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, Terre Haute, Indiana, and Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay. You were a bad man at one time.
Ended up at Leavenworth.
Listen, all of us. Listen, let me tell you something, brother. You might not understand traumatization. We're gonna talk about that one day.
Yeah.
Traumatization and
understand
how that works. Cause see what is happening. Since we learned about traumatization, we can see it in our first graders.
Yes, we can. I agree.
We can see it in our wives. We can see it in our children. Mm-hmm. We're gonna. That's another day.
Well, actually, I think.
understand though.
I understand what you're saying too.
You're right,
So
though. You're right though.
That's another
you
day.
say
Pop
that
up quick.
if we take away the lack, that things will be okay. But the reason I maybe kind of not totally on board with that is because of the trauma.
Yeah, I don't think it'll.
That
Well, I
even
said
though you take
mental
away the
illness.
lack.
I said except for mental illness now.
Okay.
Trauma
Yeah.
is a mental illness. It's a state
Truly.
of
Yes.
mental disorder.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that, but
think
now
it's
we're
okay.
talking about this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's the first step, though,
Yeah.
to removing that.
Yeah.
You're going to have a generation of a transition,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, away from all that trauma passed down in the genetics.
Mm-hmm.
That next generation, after you
Well,
remove it, be all right.
let me say this too. When I talk about going into being incarcerated, during that time, I met some of the coldest, most ruthless criminals in the country. I lived with them 20 years, so I got to know them. Some kind of way, woke up one morning and found out that I could organize veterans. They don't allow organizations of prisoners, right? But they allow organization of veterans so we can get our benefits. Just something that happened.
Okay.
We came together in prison. I went to school all the 20 years.
Okay.
I was in prison. And in that going to school, I was able to see things in prison that we couldn't. Matter of fact, we wrote a book in prison with the most harsh criminals in prison, a crime prevention program that was adopted by the city of Atlanta. It was in the schools of city of Atlanta. Reginald Eve was the commissioner at the time. We was coming out of segregation. I know this is a little bit ahead of you guys' time, but we was coming out of segregation. Maynard Jackson was mayor, and they had a police chief named John Inman, that was killing black men and having guns put in their hands or knives put on their body. And Maynard tried to find him. The courts wouldn't let him. See, that's why I want to get to where we at with the courts now. Because, see, we got people that, Mitch McConnell, God bless Mitch, but have stacked the court with Federalists. Federalists, that's why we saw a rebel flag in the Capitol on January 6th. Okay, I want to get things in context so we can look at what's going on in our community now, and we can resolve it. We can do it, because see, it's going to take veterans. No other demographic in our community can lead this fight. Not that they don't have the heart to follow you. Some of them gonna have the heart to follow you. Some of them gonna be what Malcolm talked about. You know what I'm talking about there. What Malcolm said.
Oh, Harriet.
They ain't gonna be that man to shoot them. You might have to shoot them. But we gonna have to lead this fight, because see, they're trying to take away what we serve for. The opportunities, right? And we done seen them opportunities flourish. Because when I first went in the military, you had colon power. If you saw a lieutenant, a black lieutenant, you followed him and thought he was gonna disappear. But look what they did. They just served in the military to become generals. How many 4-stars we done had, bro? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know, but I got where you're going with it, though.
Yeah, because the opportunity was opened up and we took advantage of it. Like James Brown said, I don't want you to give me nothing, just open the door and I get it myself. That has been the attitude of black people. And okay, that's my co-host, y'all. but what we have done with the opportunities is amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. We done been to school. We got so many doctors and lawyers and scientists, right? Some of the leading medical doctors look like me and you, because they opened up the opportunity. We opened up the schools. Medgar Evers had to do that when he came out of the military. You know the story about Medgar. You know it. Because he was a veteran. He said, hey, I'm going to school, bro. They had to get the National Guards to guard him, but he went to school. Veteran benefits. I was walking down the halls of Congress one day, and somebody said, I had on my Purple Heart hat then, and somebody said, I got one of them. I looked around, it was Charles Rangel. Right? Congressman Charles Rangel. He said, what you doing up here? I told him, I said, we up here lobbying. Up here lobbying for changes for veterans. He said, do it. Keep doing it. He said, because it had not been for them GI benefits, I might not be here right now. Jose Williams, my personal hero.
Was Jose a veteran?
Purple Heart veteran.
Okay.
Purple Heart.
That part of his story I never heard.
See, Purple Heart recipient. Yeah. See, what we got to do is look at what we have given. And and just what you said, bro, when you voted for Trump, that wasn't what you voted for. That's why I say America been bamboozled, bullied, or bought.
And I'll say this too, Mr. McGee. Me and Greg used to have some very interesting discussions about, the potential of a Trump presidency versus, going with Kamala and during Man Cave TV. And one of the things I can remember Greg believing is that a lot of the things that he was saying he was going to do, that Congress was not going to allow him. You would say that a lot.
and some of the stuff they did reverse. It's just the repercussions of people responding to the EOs Ain't necessarily gonna reverse it instantaneously. You know what I mean? But Congress did reverse a lot of those EOs, so I stand on that. Even when he said he was gonna do a reduction in force, I thought he was gonna do it through Congress. I didn't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think he was just gonna
start slapping folks
yeah, I
around.
mean, like, come on, that's not how you do a reduction in force. I mean, Clinton did it before, but
He was
did
on
it
the
through
apprentice. He
Congress.
was just fine folks.
Yeah, like man, you ain't supposed to do it like that. Like you ain't supposed to be a mob boss, man. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad like I said, I'm glad they got their jobs back, and I'm glad Congress stood like they did, because we probably still gonna do a reduction in force. It's just probably gonna come in September, and now you got to do it the right way.
Well, look, not just the right way. We got to understand that what he's doing. Now, the population in America has grown, right? I mean, it really has outgrown the Supreme Court. We do need a bigger Supreme Court. Look at how many cases go up there. Now, I saw Trump go in the Supreme Court like they're just walking anytime he want to. But I was locked up 20 years, and I bet you I didn't see 20 people go in the Supreme Court out of prison. They just don't accept certiorari. They don't grant certiorari like that. And because it's 9 judges, man. You got a population of over 300 million people. We talking Constitution now, because the Congress should broaden the court, and it's necessary now because it's been stacked with ideologues.
Yeah.
With ideologues, and they're federalists. And if you look at what the federalist stuff is really Jim Crow on steroids. If you really look at it, they not gonna let you come in the Supreme Court and then they give a president immunity from crimes. And then the president that got the immunity had 34 convictions. Now let me tell you this: when I got out of prison, I had gone to law school, seminary, and everything I could go because I was trying to get that BA money, and did, But I said, now I done been to law school, right? I'm gonna be a lawyer. I get out and petition the Georgia bar. They said, "You're a convicted felon. You can't practice no law. You can be a paralegal. That should be a paralegal, but not a lawyer, because you got a felony conviction." I'm gonna tell you something.
The best kind of lawyer. But anyway.
Yeah, because I went through it and I learned what the system is. But they got this way of saying you can't do this, but then we saw them do it, right? You can't even go in the military with a civil conviction. Not think about a felony conviction, unless you get a waiver.
Get a waiver. And I understand they've been doing a lot of waivers in the last 10 years?
Well, you know why? Because ain't nobody want to go in the military.
Yeah.
Listen, we got, and they trying to replace military with technology, and that's dangerous.
It is.
That's really dangerous for us to have some ideologue in charge of the nuke. That got vendettas on their chest. Revenge stuff. See. I just happened to been doing that time in prison. And I was born again. I became a Christian, and I'm just as dedicated to that as I have been to anything I ever experienced. So I studied what that means to me. It means doing a way that's right. And to me, that way is right because it's been laid out. I got a handbook. That tells me.
I tell you, Mr. McGee, technology is. It's gonna be inevitable.
Yeah, it's the wave.
Yeah. But Bill Gates just said something now. You look at what Bill Gates talking about. When you start talking about technology, right? One of the biggest tech guys in the world, right? He said there's gonna be 3 times the jobs left. So what they doing with technology is, and then they're gonna increase the slave system, right? They got a slave system in this country. It's called a penal system.
Yep.
And if you think I'm wrong, look at the Constitution. The 13th Amendment clearly says this: Slavery shall be abolished on the basis of race in this country, but under the guise of a felony conviction, you shall be subject to involuntary servitude. Now, I'm quoting the Constitution. We got the biggest prison system on earth.
Yep. And my fear is that they're going to be expanding it to, like right now.
If you keep
They're-
firing
they're-
folks and downsizing the government, you're creating lack, bro.
But look at this. They're shipping the illegal immigrants that's committed crimes to Venezuela, right? To me, that's a little slippery slope. Right now, it's illegal immigrants. But where else can that go? Because our system here is so overcrowded that at some point you think the idea might come up, well, maybe we need to ship some of them over to Venezuela.
Listen, when you start
Is that
letting,
unheard of?
listen, Angela Davis said it better than anybody I can remember. Say, if you don't say nothing when they coming after me,
Yeah.
when they come after you, ain't gonna be nobody to say anything.
Yeah, no.
We just got veterans gotta take leadership in this thing, because see, too many civilians just don't know how the government is supposed to work, right? So they going along to get along. They ain't gonna say nothing. They scared of their jobs, right? They should be scared of their job when you got a government. I mean, leaders in the government that ain't got no respect for the Constitution. You know, you can't just fire a federal employee.
Yeah, take an act of Congress, legally, literally act of Congress.
Congress done already act. They said this is the way you got to do it. They done told them how to do it, but they just dismissed all of that and fired. Listen, the VA need more employees right now because everything is a drag out there. The claim system, right? Even the burial administration need help. Really. So, you know, administration and medical is in trouble with veterans. We got veterans dying of diseases that they don't have to die from because they don't have enough staff. They getting misdiagnoses. You know, when I took over mental health, they had so many codes because the mental patient act up when you trigger them. You trigger a mental patient, he gonna cut up.
Yeah.
They triggered me. they triggered me. But, you know, I always had to go back here and God is in charge. They triggered me, but, you know, and the way they triggered me, they had to retire me. They couldn't fire me. Right? They couldn't, and I still took them to court. The court said, but they made the witness disappear. You know? Dr. Alarcon was a dual citizen, and he was my boss, but he was the only one that was stood up and say that the director directed that I be written up because of my stance on a case that they lost. They fired a veteran, and I showed him how to get his EOC,
Okay.
and he won.
I have a question.
The next day, they called me and gonna cite me for unauthorized access to a patient's records. I'm admin, right? But the law for American with Disability Act says when you hire a person, especially in government, if they're disabled, when you hire them, then you can't just fire them. You got to be able to give them a less job in your organization.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah, you got to
Comparable.
Yeah, comparable. And they didn't want to do it to this guy. So I showed him how to act. And so when he won the case, they come at me. I ain't been back to work since because I went terroristic on them, you know, but I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I mean, my disability.
I count that as a win.
My disability, you know, I wasn't in charge of nothing after they triggered it. But then I thought after all the smoke is settled, they intentionally did it because they knew. They want to get rid of me. I'm talking too much. I'm acting like I'm doing stuff for veterans. That's what my job was. I was administrative supervisor, but the job say patient service assistant. My job was to help the patients navigate through The VA, period, all over. Because I was the transfer officer for veteran went to the hospitals. The VA ain't gonna pay for them if they stay in there more than 3 days and don't contact the VA. They contact the VA pay. Right.
On that note, that one of the good things I think Trump did is bring all the federal workers back to work, because that remote work wasn't cutting it.
Well, absolutely not.
Yeah, you're not really working,
Listen.
man. Like it take me 3 hours to get a hold of you.
Well, see, that's
I
where
ain't
he
like that.
he gets a lot of points. He doing he's saying some stuff, not doing it right. He's saying some stuff that need to be done. A lot of people working in the government don't need to be working there for real. Try to get them to do so. Some of them so incompetent that you don't want to deal with them. I mean, they just don't. They don't need to be working there. But that's not all of them. You can't do mass spying and treat the good with the bad. You know, they got a system set up. They call it audit, right? You know, you can audit and find out who's not doing what on that job. They have audits every year at the VA.
Yeah, we have one right now.
Yeah, every year they have audits. I know, because I've been through a few of them. I just scuffing up my stuff to make it look good, because they're coming in there and they're looking. They could weed out the bad employees, and some of them need to be weeded out. It took us a long time to get this man fired that jumped on the veteran, beat this veteran down at Fort McPherson.
Yeah, heard about that.
You know, so naturally he didn't need to be there in the first place, because he had a mental problem. He didn't need to be in that position.
At the same time, you guys said earlier how difficult it is to fire veterans that are hired in. So how was the audit?
Listen, if you commit a crime, if you don't pass, if you don't pass inspections on your job, those are reasons for you to be discharged. It's not all that difficult. It's the culture.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
And
It's the culture.
people can paint a picture where the incompetent worker actually doing good. They can make it look that way.
Make it look good.
Yeah, I mean, if I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you the problematic one come in trying to actually really do something, then you got to make me shuffle my feet to do something. I might want to get you out of it. You know, it is the culture.
Now,
It's the culture.
here's something I want to pose to you guys. Okay, so Trump appears to be standing behind Elon as he allows Elon to run roughshod through the government. And
Listen, let me say this here. Trump been not only bamboozled, bullied, and bought. Okay? Trump been bamboozled, bullied, and bought. So Elon bought Trump. They bought him. So just now you can go on with that, because I just want to put that on the table.
Okay.
We need to know what we're dealing with.
need to give us a foundation. Okay.
So don't get mad with Trump because he been bought.
Okay. So Trump pretty much been purchased, okay, not just by Elon, but
by Russia.
Russia, as well as the oil boys that he told them, if you'll finance my campaign, I'll do whatever you need me to do. And they, from what I understand and read, they made him put the agreement in writing by their attorneys that, okay, we finance your campaign. These are the things we need you to do. Okay. So apparently he's doing them. Now, I will say this now.
I ain't mad about that.
The gas prices seem to be
Stabilizing.
and
See,
could that be due to drill, baby, drill?
No. He ain't drilling no more than Biden was drilling. What he's doing is paying off these people to stay out of jail. Really, I mean, listen, the man is popular. I like him as a person. I thought I liked him as a businessman for a minute.
Yeah.
But as a politician, man, this man is weak as water. He done sold out. Listen, Donald Jr. said this him when he was running the first time. We don't need no money from America. We get everything we need from Russia. I knew then. Listen, the man is a businessman. He's for sale. So don't get mad with him because he's a businessman for sale. Just don't elect him. Don't be bamboozled by him. We got to go to Congress, make sure the Congress don't rubber stamp the mess that he's doing. See, that's what bothers me more than what Trump does. The Congress.
Why would you say the oil prices went down or the gas prices went down?
Well, because everything was leveling out, and you got to understand what Russia was doing over there. They with Ukraine and all this, the fuss in the Middle East. So the oil boys had to just kind of just let prices stabilize a little bit coming out of the pandemic. You know, it was bouncing around for a minute. Brian Kemp helped out a lot by just taking some of the tax off the price of gas. You know, to help it stabilize. So it wasn't Trump drill baby drill. That stuff was bouncing like that before he came into office. He just came into office in January, and he ain't nothing he doing had any effect except the immigration stuff that he's messing up.
And one of his financial spokespeople made the statement that when they were being questioned about how the tariffs may affect our economy and how stuff might get so much higher, he said, yeah, it might get a little rough for a while, but we have a stable enough economy to weather the storm. Which means to me, well, that means Biden left a damn good economy.
He did. He did.
If it's strong enough to weather this storm of these tariffs.
I don't think that statement has anything to do with Biden or any other president for that matter. It's just because our economy is a consumer-based economy, and we're the number one consumer in the world by far. You know what I mean? So you put tariffs on goods that are foreign goods. Those foreign goods go up. But then the void got to be filled by somebody who's gonna create it in America.
Now, right? But then can we create an America? Now, I'm one of the people that believe that we can. Now, I'm gonna just say that first. But do you think we can create in America the goods and services that we need at the same prices that we getting it from other countries?
Certain things. I don't think we can do that with everything. Yeah. Like, I don't think we do that with clothes, stuff like that.
Well, now, see, if we look at a lot of the electronic stuff, it's being shipped to us. I mean, we got some people that can do some amazing things with electronics, but at the cost, right? At the cost. Now, that's going to be an issue because I'm saying these multinational corporations, right? Trump multinational corporation, right? They getting paid on both sides the spectrum with tariffs, right? They could raise them on imports, raise them on exports, right? The companies are the same companies that over here and the ones over there.
What do you mean?
Under different names.
They're under different names, but the same multinational corporation, bro. Okay. Multinational corporation on both sides. Now I'm trying to get y'all to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Because if he raised import, export, who gonna get the money? The companies, right?
Yeah.
Not the people. It's the people that's being crushed inside of this stuff. Listen, one reason we getting things so cheap from China, look at what they pay the people to work.
And that's the thing that
regulation.
Yeah.
But to your point though, I think on the other side of your point, one of the ways that you bring prices down is you create competition. Right, so you gotta have if you have one company doing everything, of course the price gonna be up. But when you have 15 companies providing a product, then they gotta compete with prices to make sure that somebody gonna buy it, right? And what he's saying is taking the tax rate for a lot of foreign business down to 15%, which will make it economically advantageous to do business here because Italy is like 25%, Germany 30%. You really ain't gonna find nowhere where you doing it at 50, where you doing the cost of business, except overhead at a 15% rate. You know what I mean? So that creates that competition to make the prices at least be competitive to what you would have got from China. Now I don't think they'll be lower, but I think they'll be competitive. And if you at the same time as you're doing that, if you infuse the economy and raise the stock market, right now it's going down because they want to refinance the loan, the treasuries, right? $9 trillion on the treasuries, and when you can borrow at a lower rate, remove the tax from people making less than $150,000, everybody got more money, so they're not gonna be scared to purchase things.
No,
I mean that's the overall plan anyway. I'm pretty sure there'll be hurdles though.
Yeah, well, it sounds good. It really sounds good. But then I look at the multinational corporations, right? They own most of the goods and services that we need in the world. So any business that's smaller than or not a part of the multinational corporation, they got to depend on these corporations to get their goods.
Mm-hmm.
Period. They got to depend on these people to get their goods. So how do we address that? Because the only way they're going to address it that it become competitive is that the people pay more.
Yeah, you mean raw goods, right? Like you can't do nothing. I don't think there was nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
They got too much leverage.
They got too much leverage,
I mean,
and until we stop the leverage, and we can stop it. You know, because all of it is legislation.
but how would you stop?
Deregulations, regulations, controls everything business. See what is happening in America. I think this. And God created 5 basic institutions for us. The first institution was family, right? That's an institution. The next one is education, religion, business, and government. Government has taken over. Business has taken over government.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken over. So they want deregulations, right? Meaning that they can let us live in communities or work on military base that's toxic, and they don't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the state of Georgia just recently now put a cap on civil suits. How much you can sue for something wrong from these companies.
Yeah.
With the reasoning of allegedly bringing the insurance companies.
I'm laughing at that.
But that's you got to have a sweet spot though, because when you got no deregulation, people living in horrible conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have too much regulation, you have something like California where the GDP is high, but the cost of living is astronomical too. So they got the biggest wedge between the rich and the have-nots. It ain't really a middle class. It's either rich and richer or have-not.
Yeah, you
know what I mean?
Yeah. So
and this has actually been coming a long time. Let me bring this to the table too. I was looking at a podcast where a gentleman was explaining how 40, 50 years ago, before.
Okay, we need to kind of change subject a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Because I know we've been intellectualized this whole class, but we want some drama on the steam before we leave. The brother asked a question about what opinion do you have of Trump? What did you think about Trump, the current president of the United States?
Actually, this is kind of what I was going. Is kind of will lead to that sort of, and I'll make it quick. They deregulated our news. No,
you're saying
source.
about Trump now.
No. I want. This is gonna come to Trump. All right. Trump has based a campaign on being able to tell one side of the story. It used not to be that way a long time ago. Reagan deregulated that, so it's been coming up to now. He ran a campaign on just telling one side of the story, his people listening to it, and buying into that. It can be looked at as being kind of genius to some extent, because it worked. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of what my thoughts are on Trump, I was telling Mr. McGee, I'm not so certain if Trump is a personally racist. And I know that's going to come as a big surprise. But what I see happening is he's got a base, MAGA base, that is racist. He's fed into that in order to get their support, and they support him straight back into the White House. So all the other things that they're doing, the deregulations, the Social Security, and all that kind of stuff.
We're shifting for a minute because we getting time.
Okay.
I want to hear you. Really.
All right. I got 2 feelings on Trump. One, he moved too brash and too rash on a lot of things. and that can cause backlash that's painful. But I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10 rating because I do like what he do internationally. We've been in bad trade deals. Some of them he contributed to, but we got the leverage, the consumer leverage that can work in our benefit. And I understand that most people want to be like kumbaya and everything nice, but the world ain't just like that. It's either, you know, you got to have some power base to be running things in a nation this big. So lean on that consumer base and bring that prosperity here because we can do a lot with that prosperity.
Well, I'm gonna say this here.
Real quick before you say that, hold that thought. I want to say this to my blacks. Don't buy into all the rhetoric about DEI, the Black history stuff. That's just distraction. Let's look at what's really going on. Let's look at the end game of what's being played on us, and don't get caught up into all the other stuff that he's having to sell to MAGA. He do something. He throws something at blacks just to say, so they can say, "Oh, look at what he's doing to blacks." So he's still with us. While he picks the pocket of the nation and do the stuff that he's doing. So that I wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Well, my opinion is this: you got to love the center but hate the sin. And with on that note, Trump is a racist. He was raised as a racist. Look at his history. When the people in New York, and when his daddy was living, they had to sue because they wouldn't rent to blacks. The New York fired innocent young men that was charged with a crime. He went about newspaper ads to prosecute them.
Matter of fact, he put a bounty on them young boys.
Yeah.
He put a bounty.
So listen, I'm just saying, that's my opinion, that he's a racist. He was raised to be a racist. You know, I mean, we got to understand what races look like today. They look like billionaires. They are billionaires. Listen to Elon Musk, whatever his name is, coming out of South Africa. His whole thing is they're going to bring South Africans over here and set them up. They're selling citizenships for $5 million.
I don't think Congress was allowing them to do that.
Well,
No, they already did.
They already did?
Yep. Now they got 1,000 sold in one day.
Listen, so what we got to look at is what is and not what we feel. Look at the history. You say we want to look at the facts. It's what my story, his story, and the facts. Look at the facts.
I did say that.
I'm just looking at the facts. Because I don't hate people because they're racist. I just hate racism. And I think when we learn to look at it like that, we will stop being separated the way we are being separated in the community, so that they're taking over our government. See, it's no way that he should have been elected in the first place had he not been a separatist. He created division in our community. I'm talking about the community of humankind. I ain't talking about black community. I'm talking about all of us. With hate, just pure unadulterated hate, and his whole administrative thing has been to let his staff, who came up with Project 2025, that he just didn't let touch him, but now they're trying to implement all the facets of it. It's not what I think, it's not what I feel, but what I see. See, I'm not going to let nobody tell me that those people on January 6th that attacked the Capitol was a peaceful demonstration. He pardoned all of them.
Every last one of them.
We need to look at what is. You know, I mean, hate the sin, but love the sinner. Then you can look at it clearly, so you can ask for him to repent. I just think he should repent. I'm walking with him. I'm gonna ask him to repent.
Yeah, you know, I actually agree with you on a lot of those points. I'm a type of person who looks at it from a perspective of, if this is gonna happen, how can we benefit from it, rather than be mad that this is gonna happen.
Be mad, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's gonna happen. It is what it is. To me, division is almost as not part of much as human nature as exploring ourselves. Like, people gonna divide themselves anyway. Now, if somebody exploits that to their advantage, is what it is. But people gonna divide themselves. So, with that said, use the opportunity of business coming here, whether you can own the business or not. Get in the door. Work silently for what you want. Don't be out there doing all the protesting and stuff, because they're going to play that to their advantage. Like, for instance, burning the Teslas. You burn people's Teslas. Most of them are Democrats that own the Teslas, first and foremost. And then it drives people back to gas cars. So they sell them back to Tesla cheaper. His stock go down, people buy the stock, and then he buys. He sells them back for the cheaper price, stock go back up, they all get richer. Don't be so responsive to stuff. You know what I mean? Like, be strategic. And in this space right now, we can do more with more money in our individual pockets. So that's something we should want to support, whether or not we like the man or not. If we can get the taxes gone for people that are below 150K, every one of us can do more. And I say that we use those types of things and push forward with them, because they're not going to stop. And either we going to be on the positive side of a shift or on the bottom side of a shift.
I want to thank you. This is Veterans Talk. Ain't nothing but a thing. Here today with some young brothers that had to come back, man. So, because the conversation is a conversation that need to be expanded. So, see, our community right now is living in chaos. But I just want to tell everybody, we're still finna do the Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial. Next week, we're meeting with the park commissioner. So you can still go to the website, sonsofAtlanta.org, and purchase your brick now. We only have 12,000 slots. So you don't get on top of it, because it's not just about, it's a veteran memorial. So all these guys on the memorial are not black, are not brown. There's a veteran memorial. It represents every veteran that was in Fulton County, Georgia, during this era that lost their lives. In 9 cities, it's a call to unity for veterans in our community to make a difference, because I've seen too many young men die for what we got, and we need to keep it. You know, but we need to make sure that the politicians that we electing honor that. They just need to honor it. You know, I don't care nothing about all the drama they going through. But when we see that it's slipping to the wrong side, we need to check Congress, because Congress is our legislative body. They was elected to represent the people, right? And if we go to them en masse to make sure that they don't listen. You know, this mass fine, fix it where that never happen again. Fix it so I don't want to hear about that no more. You know, talking about cutting veterans benefits, you need to increase them, because what you doing is wrong. Too many veterans are dying by suicide for us to be cutting off mental health money.
And I love what you said about the veteran demographic. That's one of the largest demographics in this country.
Yeah. So let's do this. Come back, join us next week. But like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and share the story. You can actually share the whole show. But we're gonna get these brothers commit to coming back again and talk to us. You know,
I definitely will.
You know, come back, because we need to talk to the community, man, and we need to talk to them in a way where they are not divided, right? We got to stop the division. We got to get people to come together, to stand together, because see, some of the people that are not approaching that Congress, they're looking at the White House.
Yeah, and that's the last place to look.
Yeah, don't get distracted. Know what you're doing. Let's fight a smart war. Next week, same place, same time. We're just doing it. Tony will be back on stage next week with us again, my co-host and brother, my brother in Christ, man, that stand with me all the time when the politician might be trying to run away from me. Because we be knocking on doors, but you know, we got to knock on the doors and make sure that they know who we are. We elected them. They need to understand that. But man, that mass fine that this man trying to do, you need to check that. Just let him know that's not his role. That's not his role. Not, and this imposing the immigrants without due process, we don't want to see that. That's not the law. Because if you do it to them and get away with it, They might be trying to deport me somewhere.
What's next? That's the question.
And so that's a fight. That's a fight because I ain't going nowhere. You know, I didn't come here. I'm from here. Let's see y'all next week, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brothers, for coming in. I brought this here, man, to show you